Why do some businesses scale to hundreds of locations while others fail before 10? And why do most founders think that the problem is marketing when it's actually structure? I'm Justin Kaiser, co-founder and CEO of Empire Franchising. After 24 years of building, scaling, and structuring businesses, including taking my own franchise brand from zero to over 100 franchise territories before an acquisition, I can tell you this with absolute certainty. Most businesses don't fail because they lack demand. They fail because they were never designed to scale in the first place. And that's what I'm going to unpack today. Because once you see this, you can't unsee it. And it's going to change how you evaluate every opportunity, every investment, and every business you touch. Most founders build businesses, but very few build scalable systems. And there's a massive difference between the two. A business is often dependent on people, talent, and constant oversight. A system, on the other hand, is built on process, replication, and predictability. A business requires effort to grow. A system compounds. When you understand this distinction, you stop chasing growth and you start engineering it. Let me explain. Most entrepreneurs start with what they know. They solve a problem, they generate revenue, they get traction, and then they try to grow. But growth is what exposes everything. Every inefficiency, every dependency, every inconsistency. And what happens is they hit what I call the invisible ceiling. That's the point where adding more customers actually creates more problems instead of more profit. And that's where most businesses plateau. Not because the opportunity isn't there, but because the structure underneath can't support the next level. This is exactly where franchising, when done correctly, becomes one of the most powerful scaling models in the world because it forces structure, it forces clarity, and it forces repeatability. You can't franchise chaos. You can only franchise systems. And that's why brands that scale the fastest aren't necessarily the most exciting. They're the most structured. They're the most predictable. They're the most replicatable. And this is where most people get it wrong. They look at a business and ask, how big can this get? Instead of asking, how easily can this be duplicated? Because scale is not about size. It's about repeatability. And repeatability comes from systems, not ideas. I've seen founders with incredible ideas struggle for years. And I've seen operators with simple models build multi-million-dollar portfolios. Not because they were smarter, but because they built systems that could be deployed over and over again. And this is exactly how we approach every brand that we work with here at Empire Franchising. We don't ask, how do we grow this business? We ask, how do we turn this into a system that can be replicated 50, 100, maybe even 500 times? Because once you solve that, growth becomes a byproduct, not a goal. Now, let's take this one level deeper, because this is where the real leverage is created. When you build a scalable system, you're not just creating revenue, you're creating an asset. And there's a big difference. Revenue is what you earn, but an asset, of course, is what you own. And scalable systems create equity because they can operate independently of you. This is what investors are actually buying. They're not buying your hustle. They're buying your system. They're buying your ability to generate predictable outcomes across multiple locations. And when you can demonstrate that, your valuation changes, your leverage changes, your options change. And this is where platform level thinking comes into play. Because instead of building one business, you start building an infrastructure. You start building systems that can support multiple brands, multiple revenue streams, multiple verticals. And now you're not just scaling a company, you're scaling a portfolio. And this is exactly what we've done here at Empire Franchising, and we continue to do. We focus on building the underlying infrastructure first, the marketing systems, sales engines, the operational systems, the training systems. Because once those are in place, plugging in a new brand into our portfolio becomes exponentially easier. And this is where you start to see real compounding, not linear growth, but exponential expansion across multiple brands. And this is why most people underestimate franchising, because they see it as a single brand play, when in reality, it's a platform play. It's a system designed for aggregating equity across multiple businesses. And when you start thinking this way, everything changes. Now, let's talk about what actually makes a business scalable, because this is where most founders need to shift. Number one, simplicity. If it's complex, it won't scale. Complexity kills replication. Number two, clear unit economics. You need to know exactly what it costs to acquire a customer, what it costs to operate, and what the margins are. Because without that, you're guessing. You can't scale guesswork. Number three, documented processes. If it lives in your head, it's not a system, it's a liability. Number four, training and onboarding. Can someone with no prior experience come in and execute at a high level within a reasonable time frame? If not, it's not scalable. And number five, centralized support and infrastructure. Because as you scale, you need systems that support the network, not just individual locations. And when you put all of this together, you don't just have a business, you have a machine. You have a machine that can produce predictable results over and over again. And that's what creates real enterprise value. And this is where most founders have a decision to make. Do you want to build a business that depends on you, or do you want to build a system that operates without you? Because those are two very different outcomes. One gives you income, the other gives you lifelong wealth. One requires your presence, and the other creates leverage. And if you're thinking long-term, if you're thinking about exits, if you're actually thinking about building something that actually compounds, then you have to start designing your business differently. You have to start thinking like a platform builder, not just an operator. And that's exactly what we focus on here at Empire Franchising. We build systems that scale. We build infrastructure that compounds, and we create opportunities for both founders and investors to participate in something bigger than a single business. So if you're looking at your business right now, or you're evaluating your next opportunity to invest in, ask yourself this: is this built to scale, or is this built to survive? Because the answer to that question will determine everything. Now, if you want to learn how we build scalable systems, how to structure your business for growth, and how to think at the platform level, then go to empirefranchising.com. If you found this valuable, subscribe to our channel, because we're going to continue breaking down exactly how this stuff works, step by step, so you can start building not just a business, a scalable asset, and eventually your own empire.